really worried me.
Das hat mich sehr beunruhigt.
The wound is completely inflamed. 2 days ago, this horse was injured on a barbed wire fence. Now the wound is full of maggots, exactly the same kind of maggots I had up here in my arm.
Die meiste Zeit bin ich den Chebonia hinunter geschwommen.
Most of the time I swam down Rio Chebonia, waded or simply let myself drift. I saw crocodiles everywhere, mostly in groups of 2 or 3. Whenever I approached them, they would hurl themselves from the riverbanks, diving into the water straight at me, directly at me. Normally, anyone would flee in panic into the jungle, but I would have perished for certain there. I simply stayed in the water because I knew from the ecological station that crocodiles do not represent a danger. These caiman flee at the sight of man and always hide in the water. It was very strange, because I would get extremely close to the caiman and then, from either side, they would splash wildly into the water and dive right under me. In shallow water, I always carried a stick and poked the river bottom ahead of me because there are a lot of poisonous stingrays in the muddy shallows of the river. Stingrays are the really dangerous animals of the jungle, of these rivers, much more dangerous than the poisonous snakes, jaguars and tarantulas, which people generally fear.
The extraordinarily bad film about Juliane Köpke thus teems with crocodiles and other creatures eager to bite. The sensationalism of the alleged dangers of the jungle and an abysmally bad leading actress annoy Juliane.
Mami, hilf mir doch. Oh!
Das Mädchen, das mich darstellt, stolpert.
The girl that plays my part stumbles through the jungle with the look of a hunted doe. And everywhere, behind each bush or tree, lurks some danger. She looks around and she sees a tarantula crossing her path. There, all of a sudden, a snake dangles from a tree and brushes her face. And she sees a jaguar that pounces from a bush and kills a mother monkey who happens to be nearby with her baby. The terrified young one leaps onto the girl's lap, and they cower together and find consolation in one another. Baby monkey stays with the girl during the night. Next day, the girl has to move on, but the little monkey doesn't want to leave its home, and they separate. And the girl cries out to the baby, "Don't leave me alone, don't go!"
How did you spend your nights?
While it was still light, I searched for a place where I had some protection for my back, a small slope or thick tree trunk, and I collected some large leaves I could cover myself with. During rainless nights, the mosquitoes were particularly bad. They almost ate me alive, as I wore only a tiny and by now torn miniskirt. And when it rained, there were no mosquitoes, but the rain was ice cold, like stinging needles. And sometimes it rained all night long. When that happened, the leaves were no help, and I sat shivering and sleepless until morning.
Here below us, Rio Chebonia. It seems to consist only of meandering bends, and you can imagine how great a distance Juliane had to travel in vain. But for 10 days, she stuck to her route. Had she only known that Rio Sungaro lay in the opposite direction, she would have been saved within 2 or 3 days, as this river is navigable for boats all year round. Barely an hour passes without a raft or a boat going by. Along the riverbank, there are quite a few huts. But running off blindly in any given direction could have led Juliane to the deepest expanse of jungle. Juliane did the right thing, even though day after day she got closer to death.
Im Laufe der Tage.
As the days passed, my apathy grew deeper and deeper. Sometimes I let myself just drift in the river, and I had no thoughts anymore. I must have lapsed into some sort of trance.
Am 10. Tag dann.
Then, on the 10th day, I settled down on a sandbank towards evening. I had by now grown very weak. I looked around. I didn't see anything in particular and half dozed off. But there was something that I should have seen, only I didn't see it in my semi-conscious state. Suddenly I must have come to, and I saw a boat right in front of me. I thought, this can't be real. Have I gone crazy? Is this a hallucination? I slowly approached it and touched the boat, and it was real. At this moment I became wide awake, looked around. Where are the owners? There was no one there. I discovered a small path at the riverbank, one I hadn't noticed before either. There were steps carved up there. The embankment was about 9 feet high. I tried to negotiate it, but I had grown so weak that even by crawling on all fours, I couldn't manage to overcome this little slope. It probably took hours, but I finally made it. And up there was a small thatched hut, where an outboard engine lay wrapped in a plastic tarp. There I settled down and found shelter for the night.
Juliane and Moro are trying to catch a special species of frog, a so-called poison arrow frog. The native Indians used its poison for their arrows.
In this hut, I was completely apathetic. Although I felt no hunger, I knew I had to eat something, otherwise I would die within a very short time. All around me were this species of poison arrow frog, and I still wanted to eat them. My mind was in a fog. I tried everything to catch one of these animals. It was like mockery. One sat this close to my face, but I was already too weak. Normally, eating one wouldn't kill you, but in my weakened state it could have been fatal.
Puerto Inca, a village at Rio Pachitea. The man who is assisted by relatives up the embankment of the river is Marcio Rivera. He's a lumberman and he worked in the area of Rio Shibonia. He was the one who found Juliane. As he was well acquainted with the region, we sent him out before the shooting of the film to locate the crash site. He set out alone, and this almost cost him his life. This was a month ago. A poisonous stingray had stung him, and Marcio lay near death on a sandbank for 3 days. Then a boat happened to pass by, and as he had no money on him, they refused to take him along. He finally traded his shotgun for the fare. Juliane found the rifle and brought it back. She wanted to surprise her savior with it.
Don Marcio, what a joy to see you again.
Me gusta verle.
Sí. Aquí le estoy devolviendo su escopeta que había dejado en Shibonia, como no podía salir de otra forma de ahí.
Marcio Rivera was one of 3 native Indian lumbermen who found Juliane. The other 2 have since died.
Sí, le ha pasado una cosa muy mala.
Something bad has happened to you.
Me cuenta, por favor, y me muestra qué le pasó ahí.
Me ha picado la raya, un pez, que es bastante
A
conocido.
stingray stung me. There are quite a few of them out there.
Casualmente yo tuve hace un mes, tuve una reverencia de usted que...
For a whole month I was very, very ill.
Al lugar.
Ay, sí. Qué profundo, ¿no?
How deep the puncture is. This must have really hurt a
Me ha
lot.
dolido mucho.
Sí,
Tal vez me puede mostrar en esa hoja
esta.
cómo ha sido que la raya le ha
Esta es la
picado.
raya, ¿no? Usted conoce el que es de la...
Marcio demonstrates with a leaf how he stepped onto the ray.
Con las botas. Estas son las botas. Las botas estaban metidas en los pies, ¿no? De verdad.
Naturally, he wore his rubber boots for protection.
No, ahí nomás sentado, no.
Entonces, cuando yo le pisé a la raya lanzó la espina, se puede decir, ¿no? Aquí.
The ray struck with the sting-armored tip of its tail and hit Marcio's heel.
Fuertemente.
Sí, fuertemente, casualmente llevando.
It went straight through his boot. Marcio shows the hole.
Aquí está la picadura, sí, aquí está. Ahí está la picadura. Ahí está.
Pasó la
Sí, pasó.
cola por...
Pasó la cola. Ya, entonces, eso es lo que yo estoy diciéndole a usted también, ¿no? Muchas gracias, señora, que usted me ha venido a visitar de muchos años.
I thank you, Senora, for coming to pay me a visit after so many years.
Lo recuerdo
Ya,
como
ya,
ha sido
ya,
uno
ya.
de mis salvadores.
Sí, pues, muy bien.
Yo hubiera muerto si no
It's
me
been
hubiera
so long since I've seen you. I would be dead if you hadn't saved me then.
Ich war sehr schwach, lag halb bewusstlos in dieser
I
kleinen
was
Hütte,
very
die ich
weak
gefunden
and
hatte,
lay
und
half
plötzlich hörte
conscious
ich
in this
Stimmen, die
hut.
aus dem Wald kamen.
And suddenly I heard voices
glauben
approaching
können
from the
zuerst.
jungle.
Und dann habe ich
At
einen
first I couldn't believe
grenzenlose
it.
Erleichterung gehabt.
And then I had a
Der
feeling
erste,
of
den
boundless
ich gesehen
relief.
habe, das war er.
He was the first
Und das
person
war-
I saw, and it
das war wie
was
ein
as if
Engel,
an
der auf mich
angel had come
zukam in
unto
diesem
me.
Moment.
The three men cleaned her wounds with gasoline and drove out some of the maggots. Then they took off in their boat. 11 hours later, they reached the Pachitea in the first village. As a result of her fall, Juliane's eyes were still so bloodshot that people whom she met en route fled in panic because they thought that they had seen a forest demon. From a small airstrip, she was flown out to Pucallpa to a missionary hospital. Months later, released from hospital, Juliane is in an airplane again. As in a tunnel view, forwards and backwards in time, she sees herself, left behind in the jungle at the site of the crash. All around her, there is no one, only the voices of the forest. Further and further she moves away from herself, and further than thoughts can reach, an ocean of jungle extends around her. She wants to continue her search. She wants to find all the fragments of the plane and lift them from the ground and resurrect them. She wants to reassemble the whole thing. But it dawns on her that nothing can be reversed, that nothing can be annulled. Did she sit behind one of these windows? Was she perhaps hurled into the void through this exit? Juliane sees herself again during her flight into the void. Alone, strapped to her seat, she sails on further and further. Around her there is nothing but a yawning abyss. She flies on for weeks. Then it becomes dark. As it becomes bright again, she sees a way out, a door of deliverance. She walks through the door, and all of a sudden she beholds an angel engulfed in light. All fear departs from her. All screaming falls silent. She does not breathe anymore. Overwhelmed by bliss, her heart stands still for an entire minute. And she knows that a boat will come, slowly and softly, to carry her away, to rescue her at last.